So my name is Gerda König. I'm the artistic director of DNA13 dance company and working in the field of choreography and education since 30 years now.
Yeah, hello. I'm Gitta Roser. I'm a choreographer, dancer, dance disseminator, and working in the mixed-abled field since 25 years, so almost the whole time with DNA13.
Yes, and we're working since 25
years. We are working together artistically, educationally. So, and I also have two mixed-abled companies, no more or less, and Gitta Roser production since, one is more than 10, no, almost 10 years, and the other is new. And yeah, we elaborated lots of projects we want to share with you today. And so this is my starting moment. I would like to give you an overview about things we will talk about. So it's first of all the artistic work, how it all began in 1995. Then we will share the experience of the MADE program. It's the Mixed Able Dance Education program, which is for 3 years. You will get to know more later on. And the Unique at Dance project, which is a platform to open up universities and education systems to dancers with disability. This is the main subject today. So we start with a small little video. So I have to swap, so I have to arrange technically wise, voice-wise, so sometimes maybe it might be a bit itchy. So we start with a small little video.
Das Außergewöhnliche an der DNA13 Tanzkompanie ist, dass wir mit Tänzern mit und ohne körperliche Besonderheiten zusammenarbeiten. Weltweit gibt es nur ganz wenige Ensembles, die in dieser Konstellation tanzen.
Wie viel wage ich mit Kunst, mit mir selber? Alles ist irgendwie in einer bestimmten Struktur, egal wie wir uns bewegen. Es ist oft schwer, sich davon zu befreien. Und dafür ist Kunst ein Medium, um das zu schaffen.
Und durch Kunst können wir Veränderungen starten mit so einem kleinen Korn, was sich weiter ausbreiten darf und weiter wachsen darf.
Themen sind gesellschaftlich, jeder von uns ist Teil der Gesellschaft und die Aufgaben, die gestellt werden zur Improvisation, sind sehr persönlich. Das heißt, wir müssen immer erstmal einen sehr intimen Kosmos schaffen zu den Tänzern und uns, wo Vertrauen da ist, dass man Dinge auch wirklich zeigen und produzieren kann.
Also was wir ganz viel in der Arbeit erfahren haben, ist wirklich, dass wir also in einem Mixteam Glaubwürdigkeit haben, weil beide Perspektiven dabei sind.
Es geht mir grundsätzlich immer um eine besondere Ausdrucks- und Bewegungsqualität, die jemand hat. Wenn ich mit jemandem zusammenarbeite, der eine Behinderung hat, dann wird mir hierdurch immer wieder ein völlig neues Bewegungsspektrum eröffnet und eine neue Bewegungsästhetik.
Also ich mag es sehr gerne, generell in einem Austausch zu sein. Und ich glaube, deswegen ist es gerade so bereichernd für uns auch, in eine fremde Kultur zu gehen. Auch mit den Künstlern vor Ort und den Tänzern Dinge zu entwickeln. Also mich hat immer gereizt, gerade diesen Dialog zu führen, diese Auseinandersetzung mit diesem Unbekannten. Out of the comfort zone zu sein und Dinge anders zu verstehen und nochmal neu zu lernen. Technik ist natürlich Teil unserer Entwicklung, aber für mich hat es eine Grenze, wenn Technik auf den Körper geht, weil ich gerade die Diversität sehr schön finde in unserer Welt und sehr wichtig für jeden.
Für mich geht es wirklich in der Zukunft um Bewusstsein. Ich glaube, nur durch Bewusstsein können wir auch was ändern.
Und wir fangen in diesem Jahr an, eine Tanzweiterbildung zu geben für Tänzer mit und ohne körperliche Besonderheiten. Aber das Ziel ist, dass irgendwann der Mixed-Tanz Teil des Curriculums wird an den Tanzhochschulen.
There is money, there is future. If there is money, get to the top. Enjoy the movement. Just to be a person. Get to the top.
That was a short introduction of our work. So I will give you a few information about, let's say, the history of DNA 13. So as you saw, DNA 13 is internationally one of the few dance ensembles whose members are composed by dancers with different physicalities. The continuous artistic and conceptual development of our productions has made DNA 13 to one of the leading mixed-able dance ensembles worldwide. Since its funding, in collaboration very often with the Goethe-Institut, we have co-produced with regional and international artists in Africa, in South America, Asia, and in Europe. The exploration and visualization of the movement quality of other bodies whose diversity form is the base of the choreographic work marks the artistic approach of the company. DNA 13 questions the visual habits and ideals of contemporary dance and enriches the dance with new impulses. So how it began. So my first experiences with dance was 1992, during a workshop with Alito Alessi and Emery Blackwell. And Alito's work was based on methods of contact improvisation, and it's up to now labeled as dance ability. So he mainly worked based on the method of contact improvisation. And for me, the first workshop was like a wow. So I've never experienced dance, so I went there. And there were 60 dancers with and without disability, and there was one woman who has a spastic. I don't know, is everybody familiar with spastic? It's kind of disability where the muscles are always very much triggered by the nerves, and the body is moving constantly. So she was lying in a wheelchair, half, and all her arms and legs were moving all the time. So she entered, and my thinking was, wow, she's very proud. And on the other hand, I was questioning, how does that work, this dance? So then I saw her together with Alito in a small talk, and her left hand was always moving in a circle. And by the way, Alito just mentioned, nice movement. And I was looking at it and said, yes. Later on, this woman out of her wheelchair on the floor was doing incredibly movement material. So, and everybody of the dancers wanted to work with her. And after a while, Alito was just standing and asked us, is anybody here in this room who can move like her? And this question, and there were professional dancers. So this question, everything turned around. What is dance? What is normality? What is profession? And yeah, for me, that was the moment everything turned around in my head, because also me as a woman with disability, I was finding that there are also norms in my world from the outside. And yeah, so that was, for me, always the keys that I'm telling, because, yeah, it says what then later on start to work. Later on, I was really happy that I could enter into a called Mixed Able Dance group in Cologne. They were working at the sports university in Cologne, and semi-professional. They were working also in Europe, but only in the field of disability, not in the field of art and dance. I started with them to work, and I was lucky that it was the only group in Germany who was working in this field. So I started with them for 3 years, and the group split after a few years, and then we started to work at the ensemble of Teenage 13 with, at that time, very crazy people like musicians and dancers and other artists. And it was, yeah, like everybody was supporting us because we had a vision. And it was aesthetically a new approach of dance to the different bodies. In order to develop this artistic idea, the company, like almost all freelancers, we had to work in several years without any financial support and under very difficult conditions. During the time, I received a lot of support from dancers, musicians, stage designers, etc., who just loved the work and the vision behind it. And after a few years, we really got support from funding different institutions, which was on that time really a risk for the institution, because it was something very new, out of the norm, and so for them it was a risk to support us. For us it was, thankful, because with this financial support it was possible to form a professional team and to prove artistically that a different physical aesthetic can be an enrichment for the contemporary dance. So this is how we started. The first time from 1996 until 2004, I was doing a lot of choreographies, mixed able for the stage, but more with the intention of sensuality and breaking taboos. I dealt with a lot of these themes of body, skin, and their sensual outers, as well as an inner experience. I was questioning always the body and the view of the body in its different forms and appearances, searching for new movement possibility and expressions, to question the physical norm of dance of the center of the stage. So, yeah, that was the first artistic questions I was following with all the, with all that. And what was unthinkable at that time when the company was founded, because it became later on a trademark over the years.
No.
Yes, and then we went over to other countries.
So then the project Dance Meets Differences in 2005 started. And there, like Gerda said, we were busy with the subject of taboos. And this was also the subject, the main subject of two productions, one in Nairobi, Kenya, and the other in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We were working on social taboos in each country. So these two productions were ones in Brazil we started, and it was a very intense meeting with local artists over there. So the whole artistical stuff was from Sao Paulo and from Nairobi, but separate projects. So from dances, often auditioning over to the costume designer, music. So it was really a big collaborating project over 10 weeks, and we presented then the premiere in each country over there. The one aim was to have an intercultural exchange with the field, the mixed-able dance field there, and to open up different possibilities. And one of the main aims of the two projects was to initiate new mixed-abled companies in the countries. So this was, and it was supported, everything by the Goethe-Institut of Sao Paulo and Nairobi. It was a big supporter of this idea of letting grow the mixed-abled dance field all over the globe. So as an example of aiming this goal, in Nairobi was built, or how do you say, established a new mixed-able company, Uvezo Dance, Mixed Dance Company. They worked different projects, different pieces, and they are still working at the time. So this was the beginning of an international artistic establishment of the 13 Dance Company. And these first two collaborations in Kenya and in Brazil made it possible to continue this international way. So in co-production with the Goethe-Institut, we went to Asia, Africa, and South America since then. And all the projects will also be shown in Germany. So I will show some photos also from these two travels, from these two artistic voyages. This is from Via Sem Regra. This is the Brazilian piece we did. They also established a new company there in Cena 2.5. And these are photos of the counter circle in Nairobi. So working with the same subject implemented so different stories artistically. They were really, yeah.
Really kind of research.
Yeah.
Because it was amazing that you gave the same improvisation task and they came up two totally different choreographies up.
Yeah.
So that was the first outside step of the 13 internationally. And it part of this whole concept was that the of Dance Meets Differences was to present the artistic project in these new companies in Germany. So therefore, in 2006, the Tanzhaus NRW in Düsseldorf, which is really big theater just for dance, was the first house of contemporary dance in Germany that established a partnership with the 13 dance company, the Crossing Dance Festival. The festival placed new aesthetic quality standards of other bodies at the center of the program. The diversity of body, culture, and movement expression was a new way of how to look in a different way at dance. At the request of both partners, the Crossing Dance Festival was held again in 2008 and 2011.
Now it's my part again. So we had another journey in different African countries. So we were in Kenya and also in Ethiopia and then in South Africa, and that made or arise the idea of connecting the countries together. So we had south, east and north, and now the western part was missing. So we had a new project in 2009, so really a snowball started, and we had the opportunity to work on the African continent. And in 2019, when we went to Ghana to try to initiate also a company within working with artists in Accra, what worked out. They are still working also, so there is also a company initiated. It's called how it's called? Agwaba Mixed Dance Company, genau. And there we wanted to establish an African mixed-able dance network. So we invited two representatives of each company, of each country to attend the last show of the so-called, I forgot the patterns beyond traces. So they saw the piece, and later we had 1 week of workshop where each company shared their mixed-able practice they did until then. No? So the first network was created, the African Mixed-Able Dance Network, and until then they are still in contact, one or the others of the countries, you know. And we went, I think, because the travel continues after we went to Senegal, so it was really an amazing journey to get connected to these different cultural approaches and subjects. So we were working with rituals, with different subjects to deepen into the cultural and artistic practice. And we continue then with another 3 years project, which Gerda will.
Yes, it was, after this successful of our project, I created together with Gustavo Fialco, who was our creative producer at this time, the next 3 years international concept upheaval. The intention was to do a choreographic research in 3 countries which are in a political and social change. For this, we have chosen the countries Sri Lanka, Venezuela, and Israel. So they all were really in a political and social change at that time. And it was the same thing. We started to research for these topics, and there were upcoming really 3 so different choreographic works. And in each country we were working at the countries, like same thing, like with 6 dancers, a visual artist and local artists. As I said, and between 2012 and 2015, all the projects were presented and touring in Germany and abroad.
And after the 3 years period of creating 3 productions in Israel, Venezuela, and Sri Lanka, we had the big project of Transflexion. So it was a video dance installation which took place in Germany, in Berlin, and in Cologne. So all the dancers from the 3 countries came together, and we somehow created a new installation piece with influences of each countries with the subject of upheaval.
And I think the interesting thing was also, it was the first time that it was not on stage. It was that all the audience were in between the dancers.
Yeah, so it was a site-specific performance. We presented in Berlin in a church, in a cultural church. And then we went to Cologne, to the Rautenstrauch-Jost Museum, a big ethnological museum where we presented the piece within the audience, you know. Yeah, and it was really amazing working with these intercultural exchange, really meeting people from 3 very different countries, and this interaction in between, artistically and personally, was amazing. Yes. And then we were 20 years old.
Yes. So 2015, we had our 20 years anniversario. And I was asked by a ballet director of an opera in Prague, which is a city in Germany, to create a mixed-abled production with dancers of the ballet. So with this reason, I really was really like, what shall I do with the ballet? And me, and a mixed-table thing. I was really like amazed that somebody was asking. Yeah, and then we did a co-production with the ballet theater, and the production, Perfectly Unperfect, was the first collaboration with the German municipal theater and a mixed-able dance company. For the 20 years of artistic work of the 13 dance company, this was a significant success, both in the same sense of the aesthetic approach, as well as a cultural political milestone in the dance landscape of Germany. Yes. So after that, I mean, because of the concepts, we liked to work on one topic in different countries and to do more researches. So I was creating other concepts like body realities, and Cellar in Secrets was a 3-year project what Gitta and me did in cooperation with Barcelona and Jordi Cortez. Body Realities was another project we did in Ghana and in Sri Lanka about body and where the body comes from. Yes, and this we continued.
And there is one, because we had these 2 to 3 years concepts, but there was one single performance we want to mention. This is Techno Limits. It's a site-specific performance we created, and it has the main topic of the performance was the confrontation with human enhancement, artificial intelligence, and cyborgs. So it was all about the influence of technologies in our bodies, minds, and lives, and societies. What does it make critically also observed? For the project, we seeked for dances with high-tech prosthetics, and we were working with 6 dances, 3 with a high-tech prosthetics, and 3 without without a disability or prosthetics. And this is really, we want to mention that because this is really a format or a performance. It was 2018, this performance, and we are still having guest performances. It's a modular performance, so it's a site-specific performance where the audience follows the whole artist and dances, and you can really have modular forms of the performance. And then we are coming to the here and now of the artistic work, and Gerda will talk about that.
Yeah, after that, I was doing a concept together with a choreographer of Iraq who is political-wise living in Paris since a long time. It is Mehdi Fachapour, and the topic was about power. So the concept was in between power, and another choreographic was in between us, but was under the same topic, where we invited dancers from India, from Turkey, and from Germany to have a research of the power in the country and what it makes with them. So there was COVID, so we couldn't bring all the dancers to Germany in the first year. So it's really Yeah, really difficult to create, but we managed. So they had the same stage design. We had just a room with one big chair and a big TV screen. That was all. And we had this on stage in Germany, and we had in India and in Turkey at the same time the same stage design. And so we were doing that lively over internet, that we did a piece which was then with live screens on stage together with the dancers in Germany on stage. And we did 2 months working like this. It was amazing, but it was also, for me, really a fantastic approach. Also this limitation we had at that time, what was creating new ideas, how to work together and how we can create still also internationally. And yeah, for me, I liked very much, even if it was right. So that was what I was doing. And then the last year we created, the topic was the color of red, and it was extreme called. So that was the last production of last year, years ago. And at the moment I'm working on the topic of a safe space. So for people which are not existing or not really existing in the norm of categories. And I was working with 2 groups, one with dancers with disability and one with dancers from the LGBT community, especially from the ballroom scene. And what we did last year was also outside, that we put a container in different areas of Cologne. It's totally different areas in Cologne, and we're doing also improvisation there, like interventions, choreographic interventions, and we're seeing what people, how they reacted. So it was artistic work and also a research project. And this will be work together now with all 6 dancers this year to put one piece together for the stage, but also with the audience on stage as part of it. Yes.
Okay. So this was a short, long glimpse of the artistic work of Dine 13. And now we would, because during this whole process of 25 years of working artistically in the field of mixed ability, there was always the question, okay, how could it be possible that dancers with a disability can be trained? Because it was still a lag, and it is still a lag, so there are things emerging more and more from different sides, also from our part, and from our part we would like to talk a bit. So since more than, I would say, 15 years, 20 years now, we were saying, okay, what can we do that there is a meeting of dancers, professional dancers with and without disability on the same level. No? How can be an education possible for everyone? So in 2019, we started the MADE program, the Mixed Able Dance Education, which is a further education program for dancers with and without disabilities. And it takes 3 years. Would it be interesting for you, because we have also a small little history about how mixed ability evolves 35 to 40 years ago? Do you want to hear that? Not about us, it's really how mixed ability worldwide was established. Yeah? 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 Okay, so then we go for that. So later we come back to the MADE program, and we want to put it, or to frame it a bit more, how it evolves. So the mixed able dance is around 35 to 40 years old. Before, within, and still, dance is characterized through a norm body, like we all know, most of the time, let's say, which is really rigid. There are still lots of frames and rules of norm bodies which are allowed to dance training at all. So there are really things opening up, but still we are on a low level of having an education for different bodies. The universities and dance education institutes are opening slowly. This is a very good sign, and the starting point of a movement which allows to open up dance classes for everyone, and through that the Minds and the Society started in the 70s in the USA. This was Steve Paxton who developed contact improvisation, and within this development everyone was first of all invited to participate. And as a further development, so it was not called yet mixed abled dance, but everyone, so no matter which, where the person come from, how the person looked like or behaved, was invited. And as a further development out of the contact improvisation, the pioneer Alito Alessi started with Karen Nelson the mixed able dance in '87, so it's around 40 years already. He developed his own approach. It's called danceability, which I think you heard maybe about that. He's traveling around the world with his concept of danceability. And so we can say that USA was somehow the starting point of the mixed abled work. There are also other companies and developments to mention, and especially in the UK. There was Adam Benjamin, who established the Kenduko dance company, who is really touring worldwide with their aesthetics, and they are inviting always guest choreographers. Maybe you have already seen some of their creations. Other companies to mention are Bildwerber in Vienna. I think this was also in the 90s, no, Gerda?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was in the 90s. There was, maybe to mention, there was the first international mixed abled dance festival in Boston. That was the first time where all these companies which were really rare together in Boston. Yeah.
Genau, in '97 I guess it was, yeah. So, and yeah, other companies to mention, in Germany it was also Contact 17 and Full Radius Dance in Atlanta. They are still working. And then in 1995 DNA 13, and yeah, how I already mentioned, this discussion about the dance education for everyone was already there since years, but the society was not ready yet. So in 2018, there was then really the point where we could notice the society is more open, and we had also good advices, let's say, from the university. They said, please don't go directly to the university, maybe try to start a bridge. So, and therefore we started to implement the mixed able dance education. And yes, first of all, I think that's it for now. Gerda, we can show you a small little video to have an impression of the mixed able dance education program.
What was really helpful was at that time really the UN Convention for Rights of Disability. That was 2006, and this was really helpful to push all these needs forward, also for the artistic work and for what we need to do it. Yeah.
And we still have to admit it's almost 20 years ago, no?
Yeah.
So it's really a long durational process, yeah. So I have to swap.
So following the swing, maybe we take this into the ground. Let's swing again. Here we go.
Zum Made-Programm bin ich gekommen, weil mich sehr interessiert, was Tanz noch alles sein kann.
Ich mache bei Made mit, weil das die erste Möglichkeit ist, mich tänzerisch weiterzubilden.
Ich tanze seit einem Jahr. Ich kann nicht sagen, ich bin ein Tänzer. Ich bin auf dem Weg. Das kann ich sagen.
MADE bedeutet Mixed Able Dance Education Program und ist ein Pilotprojekt der DIN A13 Tanzkompanie mit dem Ziel, eine Fort- und Weiterbildung zu schaffen für Tänzer mit und ohne körperliche Besonderheiten in Deutschland langfristig, um es in die Hochschule für Tanz zu bringen.
Es ist ein 3-jähriges Weiterbildungsprogramm. Es sind insgesamt 9 Blöcke, 10 Tage. Jeder Block ist in 2 5-Tage-Blöcke unterteilt, sodass pro Block 2 unterschiedliche Arbeitsweisen kennengelernt werden können.
Wir wollten, dass das ganze Programm mit vielen unterschiedlichen Disziplinen von Tanz mit im Programm drin ist, also auch unterschiedliche Dozenten, die Tanztechnik, die Tanztheater, die physische Sachen, also unterschiedliche Schwerpunkte, die Tänzer mit in Berührung kommen und damit auch unterschiedliche Tools haben, um später arbeiten zu können.
Welcher ist den besten Weg für meinen Körper zu bewegen und damit eine Technik weiterzuentwickeln.
Du arbeitest mit unterschiedlichen Gruppen und von da bekommst du auch in deiner Gruppe was, denn deine Gruppe hat was von das. Und normalerweise hast du das nicht gemerkt oder gespürt, ohne das zu kopieren.
Wesentlich in unserer Arbeit ist, dass wir mit den Bewegungsqualitäten einer jeden Person arbeiten, umgehen und die künstlerisch-tänzerisch nutzen.
Wir hätten jetzt gern, dass ihr eine Impro macht, jeder für sich zu Hause, mit der Maske, die wir alle so kennen im Alltag.
Ich habe bisher festgestellt, dass ich bei jedem Block viel lerne, sowohl für mich selber und für meinen Tanz und meinen Ausdruck und mein Material, was in mir steckt und wie ich das rausbringe, als auch für meine Arbeit, wie ich bei anderen sowas rauskitzeln kann.
Das Thema meines Workshops ist Ortsspezifik in der performativen Kunst. Es geht um das Verhältnis Körper, Raum, Objekt, Aktion. Werdet euch darüber vielleicht noch mal klar. Wie ist das Umfeld zu der Installation? Wie bettet sich die Installation in das Umfeld ein?
Durch MADE habe ich viele verschiedene neue Ansätze gelernt, zum Unterrichten, aber auch zum Kreieren von Bewegungen.
MADE bietet mir auf jeden Fall erstmal einen Raum, der sehr offen ist und auch sehr viel Inspiration bietet mir MADE.
Es ist wichtig, dass nicht nur diverse Tänzer auf der Bühne kommen, sondern dass Leute mit einer Behinderung auch in Positionen von Choreografieren oder Regie führen kommen. Da gerade dieser Blickwinkel von Menschen, die einfach eine andere Lebenserfahrung mitbringen, die Kunstform bereichert.
Was für mich auch so ein Punkt ist, der sehr heraussticht, ist, dass man lernt, von diesem normativen und irgendwie determinierten Blick auf Tanz oder Kunst insgesamt ein bisschen wegzukommen.
Was heißt Körperlichkeit? Was heißt es für jede Person von uns? Wo sind Grenzen, die wir denken, und wo sind tatsächlich die Grenzen? Und das finde ich einfach doch spannend zu gucken, dass egal was du für einen Körper hast oder was du für körperliche Besonderheiten hast, du kannst, wenn du mit deinen Grenzen arbeitest, die auslotest, kannst du wirklich zu performativen Geschehnissen kommen, die vielleicht andere, die diese körperlichen Besonderheiten nicht haben, überhaupt nicht erreichen würden.
Ich denke, dass Made mir einen besonderen Blick für meinen Körper bietet. Mit meinem Körper Bewegungen von einem Normkörper nachzuahmen, ist nicht so machbar, würde ich sagen. Und das versteht mein Kopf aber noch nicht so oft. Und ich versuche es dann trotzdem und merke dann, da ist aber jetzt meine Grenze. Was mache ich mit dieser Grenze? Bin ich jetzt darüber frustriert, dass dieser Arm nicht genauso hoch geht? Oder finde ich für mich eine eigene Lösung, eine eigene künstlerische Bedeutung, um damit umzugehen, um mit dieser Grenze umzugehen und sie anzunehmen vor allem und nicht darüber hinwegzugehen und irgendwas zu behaupten.
Es gibt einen bestimmten Ansatz, was Ästhetik ist. Und ich glaube einfach, dass diese Voraussetzung oder die Struktur gebrochen werden muss, um überhaupt den Tanz in seiner jetzigen Form noch viel weiter zu bringen. Und da geht es gerade um die Diversität von unterschiedlichen Körpern.
Wir wollen gerne ein Netzwerk haben zwischen Hochschulen, Tanzinstitutionen, Tanzaus- und Weiterbildungsinstitutionen, dass dieser Mixed-Abled-Aspekt selbstverständlich wird überall und dass wir, die wir gerne den Mixed-Abled-Bereich weiter ausbauen wollen, uns zusammenschließen, um mit einer gemeinsamen Stimme dann auch politische Forderungen stellen zu können.
Die Arbeit ist so spannend, weil sie jeden Körper herausfordert. Und es ist total egal, ob es ein scheinbar normativer Körper ist oder nicht. Jeder Körper wird gefordert in seinen Möglichkeiten, in seinem Können, in seinem Wissen, in seiner Erfahrung.
Ich habe jetzt in meinem Kopf 2 Kopf. Einer für die natürliche Bein und einer für die Hypothese. Das habe ich bekommen von das Tanzen. Und jetzt ich kann sehr gut mit der Hypothese unterschiedliche Sachen machen. Und ich kann mit der Hypothese natürlich Sachen machen, die natürlich kann das nicht machen.
Ich glaube immer mehr, dass eine Ausbildung muss die Zukunft vorbereiten. Bedeutet vielleicht, ich muss schon jetzt in eine Ausbildung die Zukunft vorbereiten, die noch nicht vielleicht gibt. Deswegen denke ich, eine Ausbildung so wie Made, die in Zukunft schaut, perfekt. Weil ich wünsche mir, dass in Zukunft, wie bei anderen Ausbildungen, Universität, ein behinderter Mensch darf Mathematiker werden, warum nicht Tänzer?
Das ist eigentlich das Wichtigste für mich, dass ich als Tänzerin keinen Normkörper brauche, sondern dass mein Körper auch eine Tänzerinnenkörper ist.
Yes, so that was small impressions of the main program. Well, yeah, and I don't know why we thought that we make a little break, because after that we would like to talk much more about unique dance, which was the next step to work in the field of really with the universities together, but this is a longer thing, so I don't know, I think maybe you need just 5 minutes?
5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah?
And maybe one little sentence to the MAID program, because it was also a risk for us, and it was so good to feel, to see that we did an audition for the participants, and we had more than 20 participants, both without and with disabilities. And yeah, so there is this need, and there are people who want to have an education. I only want to underline it. No? That,
yes,
yeah.
But there were people and saying, well, thank you for giving this opportunity. We were waiting so long for such a possibility.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a break. Thank you for your attention. So it's my part to restart. We would like to talk now about Unique at Dance project. So it's a research project on inclusive education in higher educational dance training. The project is initiated by the May 13 Dance Company, especially from Gerda and me. It doesn't work, just wait. Now, so next slide would be this. I would like to introduce our team, our core team. It's the core team are 5 people. So this is Paulo Fossa. He's a dancer, choreographer, and dance disseminator, and in Unique at Dance also within the content. So how can we open it? What is beneath it? And how do you say? Describes himself as a movement researcher. Next is Ulrike Nestler. She's a dance scientist and an anthropologist. She does the evaluation, documentation, is also in this content field, and a scientific advisor. So there is the science in it. And then Britta Renes, she's with us since January this year and does the project management. And then Gerda and I as choreographers and content giving part with the 2 others. So we are 4 in the content and then the organization part of Britta Renes. What is the aim? Just wait, I have to swap. So we are the initiators. So it was a consequence after the MAID program, because the aim was always to have the possibility that the university opens up for dancers with disability. So with the experience of the MAID program, we started to go further. And maybe one thing which is important also, because with the MAID program we connected already with the universities in North Rhine-Westphalia, in the area we live in the country. And so there are 2 dance universities, and one each year, one format, one 10 days format was held in the Folkwang University in Essen, and also some of them at the Zentrum Zeitgenössischer Tanz in Cologne. So there was already a sensibilization through to the subject, and also students were involved in the MAID program of the both universities, so there were already connecting points. So what's the aim of the Unique at Dance? Unique at Dance aims to initiate and support the opening of federal dance training institutions, academies, colleges, and universities towards the professionalization of prospective dancers with disability. And therefore, we develop concepts, strategies, and practical approaches, as well as implementations together with the institutions. And maybe on top of it, we can say we initiated the project, but we see it really as a platform where all the institutions, politicians, dance makers, and everyone, and scientists are involved, and we gain new knowledge which we give to the scene, you know. So it's really an overall dance politics, society politics, and educational politics project. This is very important to mention, that the interest is to have lots of a multi-perspective project where we can involve all sides. Key aspects here are making the subjects at universities and universities' premises, just wait, you can also read it, in the curriculum accessible, and demonstrating the added value for all those involved when the degree programs are opened up to the people with various disabilities. And also, in addition, we explore also implications of possibilities for anti-ableist and diversity-conscious training and teaching methods. And this is one of the main issues we do, also in the practical way, finding methods to translate. Therefore, we will talk later. Now, Gerda gives the starting point again.
Same thing. So 20 years ago, the director of this big Tanzhaus NRW in Düsseldorf, he already asked us. He said, Gerda, you have to do education for these dancers. I said, yes, Bertram, but nobody will listen to us. So at that time, impossible to bring this forward. So now we are at the point where somebody just listens to us. So the starting point is that professional dancers with disability currently active in the field are predominantly self-taught or have pursued alternative training paths outside of traditional dance education. So they are mainly doing by their own to educate themselves. Students with disability are rarely represented at German dance universities, often only as guest students or through individual expectations following illnesses or accidents. There is, for instance, one dancer in the Paducah Dance University. She was at the end of her degree, and then she got really, really ill and has to be operated and end up in a wheelchair. And so by this, she could then, that was the first time the university had to deal with such a problem. And so she could fulfill her degree, but it was the first time that the university has to deal with this. Advanced training programs, such as the MADE program you just saw, offer important opportunities, but do not lead to a recognized university degree. Access to university-level dance education for students with disability and diverse cultural dance backgrounds has often been possible abroad, mainly in UK or in US. There is, for instance, Tanja Erhardt, which is well known at the moment also as a dancer.
She danced, for instance, also for Kentuko in UK. Tanja Erhardt.
So, what is the consequence? The visibility of dancers with disability in the professional dance sector remains low and is usually limited to isolated cases. The artistic quality is often not recognized. Instead, their work is frequently categorized as social cultural engagement or demeaned and semi-professional, and so that they are not seen as really professional artists in the world. In public perceptions, the artistic practice is often presented in separate festivals or special formats, understood as a separate area with the dance rather than an integral part of it. So for instance, same what we did at the beginning to have mixed-abled festivals, I would not do anymore. Because at that time it was necessary, but today I think it's much better to have a mixed-abled company in each festival, so in the mainstream festivals, and not separately just mixed-abled festivals. There is a lack of binding and structurally embedded educational pathways. Professional training, academic studies, or even guest students' opportunities are rare. They typically depend on the extraordinary commitment of the individuals, both perspectives of students with disability and individually dedicated, open-minded educators, like the trainers. With them, we would not be like we are. Then, what I was saying before, the social cultural exchange came really with the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. Growing public awareness of the needs and rights of persons with disability has driven significant shifts. A key milestone was the adoption of the United Nations Convention for the Rights of Disabilities and its optional protocol by the UN General Assembly of 13 December 2006. The convention has been legally binding in Germany since 2009. So it's not that long ago. Currently, development and observation in the field of disability. What we see is that the demand for dancers with disability in the professional dance fields is really increasing. At the same time, foundational training opportunities for dancers with disability are still largely lacking. Also, there are new developments within university that have yet not slow impact in the practice. The independent scene, and on the other hand, like we do, is, we call it the training on the job. It's the norm here in every mixed-abled field. The sector is more flexible and able to respond to the individual needs of the dancers with disability. New mixed-abled dance collectives and companies are emerging, developing their own internal training formats. On the other hand, the municipal and state theaters, due to the tight schedule and the structures, comprehensive training is even more essential here to sustainable, established, inclusive practices. Yeah, that is really a big issue. Our observation for unique at dance, what we saw of the accessibility and inclusive practice is that on one hand, production venues and ensemble are increasingly taking accessibility and inclusive tools into account. Awareness for inclusive artistic formats is growing, like audio description, sign language, interpretation are being incorporated more frequently into productions, also supported by funding programs. This is in Germany really more and more going. These developments have so far been driven primarily by the dedication of individual actors, often connected to diverse networks. It remains to be seen whether and how these approaches will become structurally embedded within the academic institutions. So this we don't know. At the moment, there's really a wave, let's say, that there is a big eye on all these necessary things. But yeah, you never know. Then with all the cutting funding, it can be that in 1 or 2 years everything will be stopped, and all the work we did is still at the going backwards. So the growing demand is there is an increasing need for the qualified experts, especially for educators who can teach in mixed-able contexts and design accessible learning and rehearsal environments. Since 2022, as you heard, is that the project unit at Dance has been supporting dance universities and institutions for higher education across Germany that offer dance degrees program in their efforts to become more inclusive. The main goal is to establish inclusive artistic learning and environments in higher education. The project focuses on building sustainable collaboration between the university representatives, experts in mixed-able dance, stakeholders for the field of education, science, cultural politics, policy, and dance-related association and organization, just as the Dachverband Deutschland. This is the biggest institution for dance and politics in Germany. Kubia, there is a competence center for cultural education, also in later life and inclusive culture. And Action Tanz, this is another big organization, which is which is more working independently. So Unique at Dance examines accessibility of universities for prospective students with disability, monitors and documents current inclusive related discourses within higher education institutions, and actively engaged in dialogue with universities, and develops and facilitation formats for research, exchange and evaluation in collaboration with and within institutions.
Yeah, and I think this is really the main part. It's always in collaboration with the institutions, and it's always in communication. So what is their need? What do they need to open up? Where are they? What is the curriculum? How can we expand it? How can we explore it more to open it up, to make it accessible? I have one question before. No, this I will show, and then I have the question. So I'll give a small little overview about the formats we give in Unique, or we evolved in Unique at Dance. So first, it's the unit tanks. Gerda will talk a bit more about that. So it's really the collaboration and finding how to open up. So the first question of where are the needs, where are the challenges at the university, and what do they need first to start the opening. So we had 3 different examples on 3 universities. Gerda will tell you later, and then we have the move tanks. Move tanks, I will tell more about the move tanks. We have now 7, and the last will be in June, but this will be later on. So it's really a practical format where we are researching the traditional techniques to make it accessible, because still it's the entrance to each dance university. You have to have a technical approach. But what does that mean also for the entrance of the university? Then we did think tanks. Think tanks were formats where we want to change or maybe add on the canonization of history in dance, also the history of artists with disability, because in this canon there are no dancers or choreographers with disability. And we had a format about Raimund Hoge. I don't know if you know him. He's a dancer, or he was, unfortunately he died, with a disability which was really renowned in Germany.
He was a dramaturg of Pina Bausch.
Yeah, and he was the dramaturg of Pina Bausch, and then he founded his own dance company later. And then we wanted to have another, it was always online, so everybody could join. We wanted to talk about the choreographer Tamar Bora from Israel, but then on 7th of October, it was later, the war started. So this is why it didn't continue. And I will talk about the open exchanges. This is a future format. What we also did were symposium, where we invited lots of different people from different fields, experts from politics, from dance, from universities, dancers, students, alumni, and dancers with and without disabilities. Did I forget anyone? And so really having the whole mixture of representing, well, in Germany at that time. No, also from abroad, genau. So, and my question would be, because we continue now, we would talk about the formats, but I looked on the watch. It's already 12:30. Shall we continue further, or shall we have a break longer, and then we continue after? I think it's a bit like you should say that. I think at least we need 20 more minutes, no? Yeah. At least, yeah. Gerda.
Yeah. So then we will talk a bit about the cooperation formats we did with the universities, as Gitta said, that there was different ways where the universities wanted to work. So, for instance, there was the Folkwang University. They said, well, listen, we never worked with somebody who is disabled. We have no knowledge. So they asked us to do a workshop there. So we took our alumni from the MADE program with disability, and we made a workshop with all the teachers of the university, and this was really successful because they had the first time really a practice together with dancers with and without disability, and also they could also approach themselves in the way of thinking, of giving tasks, of teaching ballet, and see if it's working or not, and what is not working. And it was a good exchange also to listen to the dancers with disability, what they said afterwards. And so for me that was really successful. That was the first step in that university. In the ZZT, they wanted to have a different approach. They wanted to have guest studentship. So they were asking for students with disability who could be for 2 weeks at the normal program of the university and be part of them as a dancer, and in different, so also in ballet classes, contemporary and everything. And so that was the way they took, and so it was totally different. And there were different reactions as well. So, for instance, there was one, just as a story, there was one dancer in the wheelchair, and she entered in the ballet class, and she wants to learn. And the teacher was knowing that she makes a lot of mistakes because she never did ballet. And the teacher was not responding to her, or not correcting her. And after the class, she went to her and said, listen, you can really correct me. Don't be shy. I want really to learn. I want to learn more how to do. And that was important because the ballet dancer was really not knowing if she's allowed to correct her. Yeah? So in front of all the people. So that was also a big step to understand. And after that, she was doing it, and she developed in these 2 weeks. So that was that way. They did also with us afterwards, like talks about that, and we did a kind of evaluation about the experiences. That was in the ZZT, and in Frankfurt, at another university, it was more the focus of how accessible are somatic techniques. So we also did there Pilates and yoga practice, and for reflection on accessibility, space, time, needs, and interests. So there were 2 different ways we did already. Yeah. I think now it's you.
Yeah, and I will talk about different things where the university was involved or started to be involved more. These were, or in the end, the move tanks. The move tanks is a format. How can tradition, with the main question, how can traditional dance techniques be taught in a mixed-abled way and ensure equal participation for all? Saying that, I want to come to the documentation and evaluation, because all the things we do are always documented, and filmic documentation. So if it's a Zoom meeting, if it's our move tank, if it's the uni tank, if it's so that we really can jump into it, especially Ulrike Nestler, the dance scientist, and have an evaluation later on. So there are the joint reflection phase in the bigger setting of the move tanks. I will talk later about that, or in our small little core team, or different university meetings. And the evaluation phases, and it will be also a handout under quotation mark, which can be sent when it's finished to the people who are interested. So what are the results of the last 3.5 years? Because the program ends now in the end of June, first of all. So what are the move tanks? The move tanks aim is, or looks like a 2-day independent move tank. So where we develop to explore key traditional dance techniques considered foundational to professional dance training today. So for instance, classical ballet. And in a practical way, using open and inclusive methods, always guided from this question of how dance techniques can be made accessible for dancers with disability, because it's still the entrance, like I said before. So, and who is participating, dance educators, artists, and researchers in this special dance technique field will be invited to share their knowledge and to find out how we can make dance techniques more accessible. And the participants in general, we, the Unique at Dance team, are the facilitators and are dancers with and without disability, sometimes also from the alumni from the MADE program. So, what have we done? And I think fundamental is also for the, have a look, this was the classical ballet approach. We start now with the move tank 1 to 4. So in the move tank 1 to 4, we were working with the classical ballet with these 4 dancers, dance artists, which have really different approaches in ballet technique. So from a very traditional thinking up to a very open-minded, for instance, progressive ballet technique and so on. We figured out how could it be accessible for the dancers with disability. The foundation of the whole move tanks is really to engage in this shared research. It's really a laboratory character. So we are all researching together how we can evolve new methods, new entrances, or already known entrances to make it accessible. And to be open and have a curiosity into unfamiliar, unpracticed territories. So the starting point were core values and ballet principles. And we were experimenting with a range of the following training approaches. So there was somatic movement also involved as a base ground also to find everyone in space where everyone could meet. Of course, ballet exercise. I do remember the first move tank was really asking the four classical ballet teachers, what is the core for you of the ballet technique? What would you say is the core or the heart of the ballet technique? And everyone, so one was working with the musicality. So, and there with the musicality, each dancer could meet, but within a vocabulary of ballet, you know? So having some technical base, but working with the musicality. Or shoulder blades, there was really an outstanding moment also with one dancer. Modes of research, improvisation and composition. And one thing, and I will talk later a bit more about the language. So of course we have a ballet vocabulary. You have to learn that. If you don't know the vocabulary, you can't attend the class. And so we were also discussing about how could we also translate it in an open universal language so that everyone can take part. So for instance, for plié, it's bending, so bend your knees. So having other possibilities, and maybe also not only because when you're in a wheelchair, it's difficult to bend the knees. So then bending was, for instance, then an approach or a solution. Music, sound, voice. Yeah, voice also as a accompanyship. And one thing was really what's the teacher-learner relationship. Forms of addressing is more open. It's also language-wise, but also how you teach, how you approach in class. Not in this deductive way only, that you are the teacher standing in front, but this we know already from contemporary dance classes, but really to bring it more into the ballet class. Okay. So maybe one thing is also because the progressive ballet technique had lots of, you saw it also in the photo, had lots of different helping tools, for instance, an elastic to really follow the line, that you can feel the line. So that was really a good add-on for the dancers with disability, even for the others, of course, yeah, for everyone. What kind of categories did we develop? And I would like to talk about 3 to 4 different ones which popped up really enormously always in each move tank, no matter which one. It's first of all time and pace, because this is the most challenging part in a mixed able class. On different levels, because the experiences are different on each body. Mostly the dancers without disability have their experience, of course, and we worked also with professionals, but also, yeah, how time and also what is the need for each dancer, what is a break, when do you need to have a break, how long can you work, so the whole time schedule also changes within a mixed able team. So, Co-teaching is one thing which is again proved, because we are really in this thing that tandem teaching is very important in a mixed field. Best when it's a mixed couple, but also if it's not a mixed couple, you really have the possibility to support and to have, if the one is more teaching, the other one can go more in space and so on. Accessibility, of course, that's one of the main questions, how we can make it accessible, and language is a very, having an open language, and what does that mean? That invites everyone, with everybody, with every possibilities which he or she has mentally, corporally, and so on. So this open language is a very big subject too. Okay, so this was the ballet. I think we can, when we discuss later, when we have the Q&A, we can go deeper into it if there are questions.
Yeah, maybe
and then
mention just that it was, I mean, for me, because I was very critical with ballet for dancers with disability, and thought, well, is that working? But I was really amazed of that, what happened in the days when we were working with them, and that the technique itself, or the essence of it, was really helpful. I think that's really helpful for that. It doesn't matter one kind of body, but it was growing, and you could see it, and that was amazing for me, and also for the dancers with disability.
So these were the 4 move tanks about the classical ballet technique, and then we noticed we want to open up, and so like a necessity to engage with methods and approaches developed by artists with disability or mixed-abled ensembles, companies, artistic teams. So these were the Move Tank 5 and 6. And we invited nationally and internationally established artists and dance educators with expertise in the mixed-abled field. We invited here Laura Jones from Stopgap Dance Company. I don't know if maybe you're familiar with the company's name. They also developed an education for dancers with disability, which is called IRIS. They are in UK. I don't know, but I can tell you later on. Then Mark Brew. Mark Brew is one at the moment very celebrated artist with a disability. Coming from Australia, living in Scotland right now, who is really funded also in a way, and he has also an approach of how to train a mixed abled group. And then Tanzkompanie Szene 2, a German company, who also developed a way of this is a more open method, because they also live together. They have different approaches how they work, and they work specifically with mainly with dancers with Down syndrome. So also really another group, because we are more focused on dancers with physical disabilities. So, and there came up lots of things, and there we can deepen, and I think that would be also nice for maybe for the discussions if there are any questions. So Laura Jones brought 2 very important frames into the move tank. So in general, the access tools. So I was already talking about the open language. So how can we how can we open up the language to invite everybody to participate? So it means this codified language, but also also finding ways to invite people moving in a different way. So if it's a plie, that bending is possible on a different body part, for instance, you know, open that up. So I would like to, and then we had the discussion about adaptation. I think the people here in space know that we talk a lot about the adaptation of a movement, and that's more or less a bit more an ableistic view on the term, because all the time the dancer with a disability has to adapt. So, and therefore it's more the translation. How can we translate? And each of us, you know, so it's not, I think it's clear the difference of adaptation and translation. So, yeah. It's a wider range, and it's really finding your own solution than really trying to get close to the things you see, eyes-wise. No? Then one thing, removing the abled lens. So it's really getting an awareness and consciousness about the ableistic view we all have. Either you are disabled or not disabled. So really finding a consciousness about the ableist view and vocabulary, and and one other very, we were discussing a lot about that, inclusion and rigor. So what does it mean, the rigor? And I think I can take the example Gerda said before. This, how far can I go? How much can I challenge a person with a disability? So like inviting, but still pointing out, go further, I think you could. So that it's also demanding in a way, not keeping the dancers in a calm, not challenging way, because that happens quite often.
So bringing them out of the
comfort zone, yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah, and this is consciousness work also, I guess. I think it's a lot about consciousness in this sense. And the intention, having intentions movement-wise. That's also a thing Mark Drew and also us, I think we are working a lot with intention. Really, what's if it's physically or a subject more above, finding the intention in the body, in the mind. Yeah, I think that's that for now for the access tools. And the big question: what makes a good dancer? Maybe we can also answer this question later on together. For you, what makes a good dancer? Yeah. So, and we were brainstorming about this subject. Sorry, it's not really well. You can't read it perfectly. And maybe some words to point out. The curiosity is a very important thing. To have the possibility to deepen, really to go deep into the body, to know where it is, to research everything what is possible for me and the environment where we are in. Generosity, I like this word too, being generous, and I think that's really important when you are in a mixed field. Maybe it doesn't matter if you're a mixed field, generosity is very good in life itself, but then really having a wide lens of finding solutions, together. Dedication, to really dive into it. Dedication. Discipline. Not so nice, but very important, I think. Well, it's not so nicely connotated, maybe, this word. Technique, of course. And what does that mean in a mixed context? What does that mean for me, for instance? One No, I'm missing the word. Either in German and in English. A definition, it's the same in German and English. A definition would be, when I talk about the body technique, it's like exploring the limits as far as you can. So what is the radius, the amplitude of each body? And it can be very different, but really trying to find these possibilities, the radius of each body, and in different qualities and emotions. So there are lots of layers, but if I see it only corporally, it's like really finding out where I can go with my body. I think that's for now. So these are what makes a good dancer. This is the summary of one of the things we were collecting. And changing perspectives is like what we know, maybe we have to unlearn, we have to relearn. Sometimes we really should forget things and to build a new ground, to have another vision on it. And then again, this adaptation translation, we were already talking about that, the open language and the anti-ableistic approaches. I think these four are really very important words and visions, yeah. So, and then because until the Move Tank 6, it was a closed job, let's say. It was an independent group which met. And then in the Move Tank 7, we noticed it's very important now with what we found out to invite the universities and the directors and teachers and students from the university to have a conversation, and a physical and a verbal conversation and research and reflection about that. So we invited, and it was a merge of the classical ballet Move Tank and the mixed-abled Move Tank with the experts of mixed ability. And we did also co-teaching with the two aspects, or with the two teachers. Yeah. What else? I tried to run a bit more. I'm very enthusiastic into it. Yeah, I think that's for now, the Move Tanks, no? And Gerda will take over.
Yes. Yeah, then so we, as you saw, that there was, the Move Tanks was really a deeper research beside all the other things we had to do with König at dance. There is, yes, topic of access to dance university and training institutions. There is, for instance, the structural orientation point. Dance programs are still largely designed for so-called normative bodies, still, and structurally excluding people with disability from the pathway for entering the university. Entrance examinations, existing admission procedures of rarely on ableistic criteria. Excluding many applicants as students from the entry. So you cannot, if you have just the audition, it's almost impossible to enter because, for instance, most of them, they have no education in ballet or something, and that's what they want to see as well. The approach is to introduce individualized examination formats that focus less on pre-existing technical skills and more on the potential of each dancer. The curriculum itself, most curricula are still shaped by traditional body ideals. And and performance-orientated expectations. So what do you expect from a body when you are a teacher and you never saw a dancer with disability? The goal is to make the program accessible to the people with diverse bodies and movements, while critically addressing dance aesthetics and the co-modification of the body, power structures in dance, education, and also, mostly also, as we all know, also in society. What do we need for research and development? Artistic and academic dance research in the following areas are necessary. Decanonization of dance history and training methods, so that's what Gitta started to explain with all the research of the ballet, for instance. Diversity, difference, and intersectional perspective, like disability, queerness, and also ableism. Development of new dance education formats for mixed-able dance context. And raising awareness for inclusive and multilingual technique learning processes. That means such as translations for strategies of movement knowledge. So it's the same thing. We need different vocabulary and methods to go into even in a normal teaching training. And inclusive, deductive in dance techniques. So that, I mean, it's a lot of things. They need to be really a research center for all to understand the different layers. But until now, that's what we found out. Then also, the teacher qualification. Further training for dance educators in inclusive and anti-ableist teaching approach. That's really important because, as you know, from the forefront, they even said by themselves, well, we have never done a work with somebody who has a different body. And building institutional expertise in mixed-able dance at universities and conservatories. Then, the other thing is, how can we reach the young generation? We need also create earlier access for children and young people with disability to engage with dance. So if you don't know that there is a possibility to be a dancer, even if you have a different body, so how can they have the idea? So it's even with me, when for me it was the first experience, what I said earlier, that I was in this mixed-abled workshop and it was open up millions of doors for me. So if they don't have any experience by teaching class or even other possibilities to see a performance mixed-able, then they will not get the idea of maybe being a dancer or a creator or a choreographer. Yeah, this I think is really important. It's we have to teach the young generation. The other thing is to work on the structure of the structural requirements and resources. That means ensure comprehensive accessibility at training institutions, including physical, communicative, and organizational access. This is also, it's not only to make the building accessible. There are many, many things you need to know also in communication, in knowing, okay, somebody is blind, he has other needs than somebody who has a physical disability to enter in a class, to find a room. And that means we need also financial support. Funding for personal assistance for disabled dancers and students who are maybe inside the classes to give support if there's any need. Establishing dedicated position on universities to coordinate and support inclusive structures. So this is also what the universities told us. We don't have any time more to do this extra on top of what we are doing. So this I understand. So they need, for instance, to make it possible, also a person who can organize all these specific needs in the universities. Yeah. And providing interpreters as needed. So, for instance, easy language, audio description, or sign language. This is another topic depending on the students who want to enter. Yeah, the last thing, urgent field and action in university context is the awareness and consciousness raising, target groups with university institution leaderships, with program directors, teachers, staff, students, alumni, external experts, like we talk about. Yes, practice-orientated workshops we need in different formats of co-learning between faculty and the students. Tandem teaching, we taught. Open research workshops is important. Linking out of university, offering, for instance, engaging the MAID program inside the universities could be a plan. Yeah. And the exchange of networking, that's what we are also doing, like between stakeholders from the dance scene, university representatives, nationally and Europe-wise. And the goal is to join developments also of maybe best practice models we can find to share, and building sustainable cooperation networks. Yes. I'm finished.
Yeah, and so I would say, because the prospects, maybe we can talk about that, what we will continue doing in our exchange. So there will be Move Tank 8, there will be the open exchanges and the evaluations, and that maybe is interesting also for you, that there will be an overview collection as a resource for universities and other institutions or stakeholders in dances or dance companies, and the exchange with the different institutions about the needed processes. So these are the prospects. And this is only a small little overview, and maybe it might be interesting for, it's a German-based, the field Dance and Disability Inclusion in Germany, but maybe with all these information you can also check out other companies, other institutions, networks, and yeah, for instance, these are all mixed-abled dance ensembles, or which are working and having also somehow evolved training, and the venues where people with in a mixed-abled field are invited. No? And there's another field, projects, institutions of higher education. This might be also interesting to read about how are they doing it. For instance, this Einstein Profil Professorship of Claire Cunningham is an outstanding thing in Germany. She's the first artist with disability having a professorship for 5 years. So, yeah, and I think there you could also find out what is there already or get inspiration. What does that mean? So.
Yeah, and just mention that there are also in Germany totally different, political-wise, different ways of understanding in between people with disability who are artists about how we should go further or how it is labeled or not labeled. And so there are different views and also, some. So we are not, let's say, we are not all in one boat and saying this is what we want.
And that's good.
It's good to have.
For discussion after the lunch.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And also I want to say that this is an approach of Germany. So there is a lot of approach of England, of UK, which we're taking over to Germany, which is not really all working. So it doesn't mean, I just want to say, you are here in Litauen, and maybe there is something else what is more important because you have another culture. And it's not like everything is then just taking over because they did the research and we have to take it now. Maybe it's something else. What is more important for your country? And you know, that's
And
also,
structures especially.
it's important to think that it's not everything what comes from other countries is good, or it's working in the country. This I just want to mention.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
for-
attention.